Two out of every 3 Latinos believe that U.S. troops should be brought home from Iraq as soon as possible, and only 1 in 4 think the U.S. made the right decision in using military force. Many Hispanics around the country have also expressed a more negative view toward the war compared with the rest of the population, especially when it comes to keeping troops in Iraq. But why? For Professor Nivaldo Aguilera, the 2 main reasons for this resistance are the disproportionate number of casualties and the amount of money being spent in this conflict.
Los latinos son, al igual que otras minorías,
Latinos, like many other minority groups, are the most affected by this situation in many different levels, but especially in their economies. The government is putting an excessive amount of resources into this war, and at the same time is cutting federal programs for education and welfare help for their families.
De la ayuda social.
Today, Latinos in Iraq and Afghanistan face sobering statistics. They make up 10% of the armed forces, 18% of combat troops, and 11% of military deaths. But despite these numbers, there are other causes why Hispanics oppose the war. Many believe it has to do with the history of U.S. military presence and interventions in Central and South America during the 1960s, 70s, and 80s.
Es un momento de la historia en Latinoamérica que...
That is a moment in the history of South America where you could feel, especially in the 60s, that help from the U.S., which benefited us. But after a while, it became a military operation where only the interests of America were at stake, political or what have you, especially in the context of the Cold War. If you are not with us, you are with the Communist Party of the Soviet Union.
Tú no estás con nosotros, entonces estás con los comunistas de la Unión Soviética.
But over the years, the pattern of U.S. military interventions didn't show support for democracy either. Instead, they helped establish tough military regimes like the ones in Chile, Argentina, Paraguay, Nicaragua, and Panama, among many others.
Latinoamérica está traumado con las intervenciones.
Latin America is traumatized by the United States military interventions in their countries. The schools of the Americas left a sad memory in the entire region without exception. This was a school of torture and persecution of union leaders and liberals, not only communist or Marxist, but anyone who would be more progressive or thought different.
Progresista.
Washington defends its military expansion in the name of fighting terrorism and spreading democracy. However, as critics often point out, these interventions probably increase the threat of terrorism in our own country.
Yo pienso que la época de la gloria...
I think the golden era of the U.S. military has passed. That is another reason why many Hispanics oppose the war and the potential conflict against Iran.
Irán, las cosas han cambiado y los ejércitos ya no tienen cabida.
Today things are different. Armies are not effective in solving problems.
Los convenios
Diplomacy and commercial free trade agreements are the new weapons to conquer and oppress a country or make friends.
Nuevas armas para derrotar o oprimir un país o ser amigos.
Today, the United States has over 700 bases in 130 countries, and 146,000 troops are actively serving all over the world. Judging by these numbers, Mr. Aguilera believes that the war is far from over, and the fate of Iraq and Afghanistan might follow the same steps of the military regimes that once ruled in Central and South America.